Well, good morning, my friends. Hey, on Sunday morning, for a brief space of time, we leave behind the world of home and, well, usually, and work and school, the world where we have our lists of things to do, activities to participate in, and tasks to complete. We gather with new and old friends here online, this year anyway, and rest our presence here this morning, seeking something a little different. We come seeking a shift from the ordinary to the sacred, from doing to just being. I invite you to close your eyes as we begin this service in Lent. Let go of your lists of things to do. Recall that it is the season of Lent. Take a few breaths. Remember the parable of the sower? The sower throws the seed, and where it lands determines if it will grow or if it will not grow. Well, think of it this way. Think of the season of Lent as the sower, the time when the seeds of faith are thrown with kind of a special intensity. It's a time when God calls us with a quiet yet urgent voice. Listen, listen. Jesus is being drawn to Jerusalem. Where is God calling you? Now, as we extinguish this light, this candle this morning, as we'll do each week in Lent, we acknowledge the darkness and pain and prejudice and discrimination in our world. I wonder if you'll join me in this prayer, this Lenten prayer, as we join our voices together. Loving God, as we journey through this holy season of Lent, may we be open to your presence. Give us the strength to make the changes that are needed in our lives and the courage to take on the work of transforming the world. Amen. My friends, will you please join me in singing a beautiful song to start such a beautiful day in this second Sunday in Lent? Praise to the living God.
Praise to the living God, the God of love and light, whose word brought forth the myriad suns and set the worlds in flight. praise to the living God, around, within, above, beyond the grasp of human mind, but whom we know as love. In these tumultuous days, so full of hope and strife, may we bear witness to the way, O source and goal of life.
Well, good morning, my friends, and welcome to Faith United Church of Christ, coming to you live this morning on this final Sunday in February, the second Sunday of Lent, coming to you live, as always, from the Faith UCC studios in Dunedin, Florida. It's just so beautiful here that I'm stumbling over my words because I want to get outside. But I hope wherever you are this day, I hope the sun's shining. I hope the birds are singing. I hope you can find it, whether the trees are covered in snow or buds or whatever. I hope you can find it a beautiful Sunday here, a final Sunday in February as we head into March. I can't believe we're actually heading into March and Easter. Wow, it's just over a month away. Stay tuned for more information on that in the weeks to come. Hey, a special welcome to any visitors we have with us today. First-time visitors, return visitors. We love having you here. If you are visiting with us, please remember to go ahead and email the office at office@faithucc.org, and we'll get you on our mailing list so you can receive our weekly newsletter, which is packed full of all sorts of wonderful information, articles, upcoming events, special sharings, and things like that. And that kind of leads me into announcements. I've been trying to share each week, starting this last week, a Lenten practice. You know, we are in the season of Lent, a very holy time, one of my favorite times of the year. It really is. And so I'm trying to put in a spiritual practice that may be something you haven't tried before, that you can maybe weave into your own spiritual life. So I'm going to do one each week. I started last week with Lectio Divina, which is sacred reading. Really a powerful thing if you're willing to give it a shot and give it some time. And as I put in the article, remember, these things are practices. You don't perfect these things. They are practices that we, much like Christianity, is a practice. It's a way. They're things that we can try and bring into our spirit, try and use to fill out our spirit in our relationship with this ground of being that we name God. So I hope you'll take a look at that each week in the newsletter. I'll do a new one for the next 5 weeks, right through Lent. And you know, the spiritual life is about action, and we do a ton of that here. But it's also about contemplation, stillness, contemplation. And Lent is the perfect time to try that. So go ahead and see those articles in the newsletter. Also, please mark your calendars for Saturday, March 13th, 1 p.m. We are going to be hosting a Zoom event with the Immokalee farm workers in conjunction with the Fair Food program that they are trying to get places to become a part of, and they've been pretty successful for the most part. But they're going to talk more about what it's like to be a farm worker down in Immokalee, which is a really hard life, especially in any time, but especially during COVID times. It's been really, really hard, and there's some injustice down there going on all the time. So this is a great way for you to learn more about how we, as a church, can partner with the Immokalee farm workers and the union down there that's trying to secure better wages for the people that pick our food, safer working conditions, and especially in COVID times, much safer precautions around how they work and how they live. So they're the heartbeat of America. They put food on our tables. So plan on that. March 13th, 1 p.m. There's going to be more information coming out this week, and I'll share the Zoom code next week. So just right now, I just want to get it on your calendar so that you can be a part of this on Zoom. So watch for more information. I have a quick special announcement here from Marge Miller on an upcoming event, I think next Saturday, from Anamkara.
Good morning. My name is Marge Miller, and I am a co-leader of Faith UCC's Anamkara Women's Circle. We are pleased to announce that on Saturday, March 6th at 11 a.m. on Zoom, we will be presenting our bi-monthly program. It is noteworthy that the last time we had an in-person church service was last March 8th, when the women and young girls in our church led the service for International Women's Day. Wow, it's been a whole year. What a year it's been. Who would have thought that a year later we would still be unable to meet in person? But thank God for Zoom that has enabled us to stay in touch. In addition to commemorating Women's History Month, we will also be presenting a special program on Celtic spirituality led by retired UCC minister Reverend Barbara Turner Delisle. Celtic spirituality dates back centuries, and this rich program will offer a combination of music, information, experiential exercises, and time to share with each other in small breakout groups. You will be receiving a Zoom invite with a link to Saturday's meeting that starts at 11 a.m. and will last about an hour. Hope to see you Saturday.
Thanks, Marge, for a great announcement. Watch for more information from the Anam Cara ministry for how you can participate in that. I can't believe, I was going to say more about this next week, but it is coming up on a year. Unbelievable. I think March 8th was our last service here, or maybe I'll have to look at the calendar, but it's going to be a year. And wow, I'll never forget, remember we tried to shut down for 2 weeks thinking, 2 weeks is going to be enough to kind of squash this thing. Well, wow, here we are 52 weeks, 2 weeks plus 50 later, and we're still battling this. But I think there's good days coming. So keep watching. Is that vaccine, Johnson & Johnson, was just approved yesterday. How great is that? That's 3 vaccines now. They're going to ramp up production. So, the experts I'm listening to are saying, hey, March, April, and into early May, some really good things are going to happen. So keep the faith, my friends, and keep watching for more information, as we start to discern what it means for us to reopen. There's going to have to be a lot of thought going into this. There's going to be some guidelines laid out, some things like that. So watch for more information on that coming down the road. I'm just so proud of how this church has worked so hard to keep people safe and encouraged social distancing and mask wearing. Very proud of how we handled this last year. And I can't wait till we can get together again. But watch for information on that. Today we got to finish up our last Black History Month celebration Sunday. And we could celebrate this for years on end, nonstop. It's such a great thing to celebrate. And then next month we're going to journey a little deeper into the season of Lent. And follow Jesus on a remarkable journey that he led and a remarkable life that he led. But that's next month. Today, my friends, I just want to lift up a couple of concerns, pastoral concerns. Please hold Barbara Turner Delisle and her father, Bob, and her family. I think Barb and Larry are on right now, but Bob is 96, and the last I heard from Barb, he was not eating and refusing, further medical care. They're just trying to keep as comfortable as they can in this time. So just, Barbara, thinking about you, Larry, your family, Bob. Let us know how we can be there for you in this difficult time. Okay? Also, please hold Uncle Harold Sauter of the Diefenbach family, who is in the hospital with health issues. So peace be with Harold and Arlene, Debbie, Ginny, and Penny, and your family in this time. Also hold Sarah Hageman's mom, Kathleen, in your hearts and prayers. Kathleen is transitioning into a skilled nursing facility as her health has really been declining, and the family's hoping that she can be accepted for Medicaid, so that they can find the right facility for her. So hold Kathleen and Sarah and their whole family in your hearts and prayers, and what is a really difficult time of transition for their mom. Also hold Bud and Judy, dear friends of Jan and Ryan, as Bud is going through some difficult health challenges, and his wife Judy is supporting him through them. So let us hold all of them, including Jana, in our hearts and prayers in this time. Finally, please hold Carolyn Scheuer's nephew, son-in-law Stephen, in your hearts and prayers. Stephen's been undergoing laser surgeries for over a year now, well over a year, since he suffered burns in a propane accident. And he has 2 more to go, sounds like in April and June. And they're hoping that is it. It's been a long, long road for Stephen and his wife, Carolyn's daughter, Christine. So hold them in your in your hearts and prayers as they hopefully wind down what has been a very difficult journey. And also hold Carolyn's sister Julie in your hearts as she underwent a pretty major 14-hour surgery in Minnesota on Friday. And it appears things did go well, but I know she said Julie appreciates knowing that so many are sending up their heartfelt prayers and holding her in the light in this time. Couple of joys, birthdays. Jan Goodwin has a birthday today. A happy birthday to you, Jan. And I think I saw on Facebook real quick this morning that Amy Valentino has a birthday tomorrow. So if that's true, you never know on Facebook what's true and what's not. But I bet it's true. Happy birthday to you, Amy, tomorrow. Happy birthday, Jan, and happy birthday, Amy. And to anybody that has a birthday or an anniversary this week, the happiest of days to you as well. My friends, will you join me now in journeying ever deeper into this service with a time of centering with a beautiful video from the work of the people.
We build our house on you. We place our trust in you. Our hope is found in you alone. We build our house on you. When darkness takes our side and straining has made us blind, our hope is found in you alone. When darkness takes our side, when rulers rule by fear, your rule of love will still be here. Our hope is found in you alone. When rulers rule by fear, if justice doesn't come in this life under this sun, our hope is found in you alone. If justice doesn't come, so justice come, justice come. Roll on down the hills, come on. Roll on through the prairies deep. Roll on o'er the mountains steep. Roll on through the deepest seas. Justice come, justice come. We build our house on you. We place our trust in you. Our hope is found in you alone. We build our house on you.
Today's scripture reading is Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of this city. It shall not be moved. God will help when the morning dawns. The nations are in an uproar. The kingdoms totter. He utters his voice. The earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord. See what desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Amen.
So this past month has been a delight for me as a sermon writer, as we have focused on Black history in our Sunday services and some great Americans that have shaped this nation in such profound and really wonderful ways. Think about it. We have journeyed into the life of Rosa Parks, the defiant moment of not giving up her seat on a city bus, and how that act of protest was a major spark that galvanized the civil rights movement. We journeyed into the life of Moses, one Harriet Moses Tubman, and her bravery as a liberator of slaves as part of the Underground Railroad system of freedom. And how time and time again, all 5 feet of her, less than 5 feet of her, would venture back into dangerous territory and deadly territory to help folks gain their own way to freedom. And then last week we entered the life of the great Maya Angelou and her poetry that is some of the finest and richest ever written, as it speaks to freedom and liberation, and most of all, love. Remember, love liberates. In each of these cases, we examined a strong and unyielding faith in the ever-present nature of God that grounded these great visionaries and inspired them to be catalysts that changed the world as they knew it. Their faiths were strong and rested upon a foundational trust that God was always with them, guiding them, giving them the courage to persevere through all that life was throwing at them, and journeyed constantly with them through all of the trials that they endured, that they faced, always bringing peace and inner calm, and the sense that they were held by the power of love, and was always inspiring that love to come alive. Great visionaries. So today, for our final Sunday in this great month of celebrating Black history, we journey into the life and faith of a man that we just recently lost, just back in January, a gentle giant of a man who was larger than life in heroic stature, yet as humble as any who has ever lived. Now, he was known for many things, for being a man of great integrity, humility, possessing a passion for social change, and also a man who was a great philanthropist, particularly for young Black students who were hoping to go to college, but for whom financial circumstances might have made realizing that dream really difficult. Many knew him as a man whose life was one of great and confident faith, for he possessed a strong and unwavering trust in the power of God in his life, guiding him in the most difficult of times, and bringing him the deepest sense of peace through all the vitriol and the evil and the anger that was constantly thrown his way. And all throughout his career, this man trusted that he did nothing alone, but felt the presence of one, in his words, quote, who is bigger, stronger, and wiser than I am, and who, quote, helps me when things go wrong, forgives me when I fall on my face, and lights my way. This is a great man. Oh, he also happened to be a pretty dang good baseball player.
Sitting on 7-14. Here's the pitch by Downing. Swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7:15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron. The fireworks are going. Henry Aaron is coming around third. His teammates are at home plate, and listen to this crowd. A sellout crowd is cheering Henry Aaron, the home run king of all time. 7:15.
Henry, I love that clip. I watched it so many times, and there's longer ones out there you can find. Henry Louis Aaron Jr. was born in Mobile, Alabama on February 5th, 1934, to parents Herbert and Estella Aaron, the third of their 8. I've seen 6 and 8. I think 8's the one to go with. 8 children. Be born into the midst of the Great Depression and into the evil of the Jim Crow South. Things were really difficult for the young Henry and his family during these times. The times were hard, and they were cruel, with grinding poverty and vicious racism all around him, framing his young life and foreshadowing some of the evils he was going to face later in life. As his fame grew and as he approached breaking one of the greatest and most cherished sports records in history. But for now, in these times, he was a child and a young man trying to find his way amidst it all, trying desperately not to let life and racism break him. His parents, as Henry tells it, were really strict. Henry saying in his own words, quote, "My parents were strict with us kids. We had rules, we had chores. We went to Baptist church every Sunday." Henry tells of the time when at age 15, someone offered him $2 to play baseball one Sunday afternoon, a pretty formidable amount of money then for one day's work, you got to admit, and said that, quote, "I turned it down, for I knew Mama would never allow me to play ball on a Sunday." Faith was important, an important part of young Henry's life, and not even baseball was going to be allowed by his family to get in the way of that. And right along with faith for the Aaron family was education. Henry's parents recognized early on that the only way out of that grinding poverty and to a better life was education. And they were dang sure that each of their kids was going to get what they had not, an education. But for young Henry, his plans at some point, well, they diverged from his parents' plans because he was fast becoming in love and began to see his future revolving around one thing and one thing only: baseball. So Henry recounts a story in the publication Guideposts. As he was looking back, this was not long before he was about to break that record, a couple months before what we just saw there. And he told a story about, quote, "the time I skipped school to listen to the Brooklyn Dodgers game at a local pool room. For some reason, his dad, got off early that day and saw him there, but he didn't get mad. He just crooked his finger at me to walk home with him. I thought I was in for it," he recounted. But my father, as he goes on, he didn't punish me. He just asked some questions like what I was doing out of school and in a pool room. And he said, "I was listening to the Dodgers game," I said. "I want to be a baseball player. I'll learn more about how to play listening to the Dodgers and sitting in a classroom." So his dad told him that, "Hey, Henry, you can get an education, and you can play baseball too, you know." Then they walked home, and they arrived home, and Henry recounted how they had an old car in the front yard, and he and his father sat in that car, and they talked, and they talked. And Henry said to him, his mind was made up. He said, "I'm going to drop out of school when I get a chance to play baseball." His father tried to help young Henry understand the value of getting an education first. He wanted his son desperately to finish school, drawing on his own lack of education and an opportunity to try to sway him. But with his son's emerging talent and his will to play the great game at a higher level, his dad, no doubt, saw the writing on the wall. And then when, at age 17, Henry was offered $200 a month to play for the all-black Indianapolis Clowns, something that he could not possibly turn down, his parents relented, likely knowing they couldn't stop him anyway, right? But they made him promise that someday, when this baseball stuff ends, he would promise to go get that education. Only then would they give him that blessing. And he agreed. And he dropped out of school. And he began a journey right then and there into the footsteps of the path that his idol Jackie Robinson led before him. And he headed towards a glorious future in the major leagues. And what a journey it was. When the home base dust all settled decades later, Henry Louis Aaron would no longer just be Henry Louis Aaron, but rather Hammerin' Hank, the greatest baseball player that the earth had ever known until that point, and really still is to this day. Before retiring in 1976, after a career that began in various minor leagues and Negro League teams, Aaron played with the Braves, first in Milwaukee when they were located there, and then in Atlanta when the team moved. And in the end, Hank would be elected to an incredible 25, get that, let me repeat that, 25 all-star appearances. And he'll hold on seemingly unbreakable records like knocking in 2,297 RBIs and accumulating 6,856 total bases, records that still have not been broken today. But most remember him for that clip that I just showed, when on April 8, 1974, Hank Aaron stepped to the plate in front of the largest baseball crowd ever seen, over 53,000. He walked to that dusty plate, at this time tied for home runs with the greatest hitter of all time, that beloved Babe Ruth, who had hit an incredible 714 home runs before retiring. And Hank Aaron walked up, having hit 714 home runs himself, tying Babe Ruth's record. And on a second pitch, on that at-bat, Hank crushed that baseball 385 feet over the left field wall and sealed his name forever in baseball immortality by breaking a record that most people were positive would never be broken, 715 home runs. In the end, old Hank would retire himself with a record of 755 home runs, a record that would stand until the steroid era of baseball, when Barry Bonds, hope I'm not saying anything controversial here, folks, Barry Bonds would break it. But we all know there's an asterisk, right, on that record. And Hank's still the real home run hero and the greatest batter baseball has ever seen. A young boy growing up in the vicious South, a dream that could not be denied, a life well lived, and a rock-solid faith propelled one young Henry Louis Aaron from Mobile, Alabama, and transformed him into immortality, now the Elysian fields of baseball. What a life lived. What a life to celebrate any month. What a man to celebrate any month, especially during Black History Month. Now, I don't recount this story for you today just because Hank Aaron was a great baseball player. There's lots of great baseball players, black baseball players, oh my God, that we could talk about. We go on for years on that topic. Rather, what fascinates me about Hank Aaron stems from an interview I heard on ESPN radio right after he died last month in January. It's a conversation and a reflection that spoke of Hank's humility, his generosity, and his rock-solid belief in the presence of God through all times of adversity. This is what really struck me about this great, gentle man. I mean, like the psalmist who wrote that favorite psalm of mine that Marge just read, Psalm 46, who obviously went through some really difficult times of pain, threat, violence, and deep fear, yet who somehow was able to write that psalm and root their lives in the trust of a presence that would see them through it all. Well, Hank Aaron also possessed that same kind of trust that he too was never alone in the midst of the evils that surrounded him and frankly wanted to harm him. You see, even though Jackie Robinson and others had paved the way for other black baseball players to follow, well, we know things were not easy going through the racism and segregation of the times, especially in the South, and especially from angry white folks with the fact that a black man was actually threatening, had the gall to threaten to break their beloved white Babe Ruth's record. Many still considered baseball a white man's game. And Hank was then constantly threatened with violence. He was spit on, he was jeered, he was called terrible names, and lived among some frightening evil. Heck, he used to sleep at the ballpark because he was afraid of leaving. He received letters, many, many letters, awful letters. There's an article on MajorLeagueBaseball.com put it, quote, Hank Aaron kept the letters, hundreds of thousands of letters that he received when chasing Babe Ruth's home run record and beyond. They were vile letters, angry letters, threatening letters, letters that revealed in no uncertain terms the dirty underbelly of a nation that has left its most fundamental issues of race and equality unresolved. Unquote. This is what Henry played amidst. It must have been overwhelming at times. So when asked how he kept it all together through all this anger towards him, this vitriol towards him, Henry said, quote, when I was in the ballpark, I felt there was nothing that could bother me. I felt safe. I felt I was surrounded by angels, and I had God's hand on my shoulder. I didn't feel like anything could bother me. End quote. He had an intense experience of the presence of God in his life, guiding him and helping him and holding him in safe space. He talked about this presence before, saying one time, quote, I don't do it on my own. God is my strength. Where he said one time, as I referred to in the beginning, quote, I need to depend on someone who's bigger, stronger, and wiser than I am. And that God helps me when things go wrong. He forgives me when I fall on my face. He lights my way. His resolve, he said one time when pressed on how he keeps it all together in the face of such adversity, stems from his strong Christian faith. God was a very real presence for him, much like it was for the psalmist, whether the one we heard or the 23rd Psalm or countless others. Holy, steady, and guiding presence, being held in something greater than that which we can explain, that brings a sense of peace. That framed Henry's life and was the rock of his faith. The most fascinating thing I learned about our friend Hank Aaron in relation to his faith was that I was just blown away by this, that all throughout his career as a player, he kept one book in his locker at all times. Read this book over and over again throughout his career and his life. Now, what do you think this book is? Throw out a guess. Guess that maybe you'll say the Bible, right? Wrong. It wasn't the Bible. It's actually a book by a 14th century monk named Thomas A. Kempis, a classic written over 600 years ago called The Imitation of Christ. It's a spiritual manual of sorts about trusting in God and overcoming fears and evil through walking in this world with great wisdom and humility and finding strength through those things as Christ did before us. Now, I have a copy of this book. I've had it for decades now, and I read through it from time to time. And so when I learned about this about Hank, I pulled my book down and I opened its pages and I imagined Hank Aaron before going out onto the field with all of the garbage that would be thrown at him, having just likely read a few letters of derogatory names and threats towards him and his family. So I imagine him opening this book for some peace and reading words like these from this ancient book. Do not regard much who is with you and who is against you, but let this be your greatest study, that God may be with you in everything that you do. Have a good conscience, and God will defend you well, and no evil will hinder or grieve you. That seemed to kind of sum up Hank's faith so well and provided the courage and peace that allowed him to rise up, face the challenges, conquer the fears and the evils, and overcome all diversity, and while doing so, not only change a game, but change the world as well. And with that faith guiding him, with that presence a part of him, a young man named Henry Louis Aaron Jr. became the greatest baseball player of all, and then, led by faith, transcended even that. Even baseball, his life became bigger than it, but became about human and civil rights, about philanthropy, giving, and even eventually being awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by George W. Bush. He was always giving of himself right until the end, as he publicly received the coronavirus vaccine on January 5th, 17 days before he died, so he could stand as a symbol for other black Americans that are skeptical of the vaccine because of let's be frank, horrific acts of past betrayal. He was an inspiration until the very end. What a life. What an American. What an inspiration. I hope from this sermon, and really from this whole month, as I look back on it, is that we can all see from these incredible lives the blueprint of how to navigate the ways of this world in terms of how we decide to live within it. I mean, we all have different things happening in our lives. But we hold in common the fact that we will all have good times and we'll all have not so good times. Those are the facts of life. Ecclesiastes reminds us, for everything there's a season, right? It's time to laugh and it's time to cry. Life, in other words, will at times bring us to our knees. But it's how we journey through those times that shapes us, that molds us, and determines how we come through the fires of life and into the clearings on the other side. I mean, Henry could have stayed Henry, letting evil win, letting the hatred win, letting the fear win, and he would never realize his destiny in baseball, who transcended those things that could have paralyzed him and kept him down and out. No way, he didn't. Instead, he trusted something, that some presence was a part of him, and he tapped into that presence. Call it God, call it the ground of being, call it divine essence, whatever. It's there in the heart of life, in the heart of Hank, and at the heart of each of us, with us in the difficult times, calling us forward, journeying with us in the pain, the fear, the anxiety, the grief, the loss, calling us forward to rise up and face whatever it is that is attempting to stand in our way or lock us in fear or hold us down. Each of the phenomenal lives that we encountered this month lived with that trust, that they were never going to face what life was throwing at them alone, but that rather on the journey in life, through the worst of times, they could be not afraid, because they could be not alone. So if you're facing great fear and anxiety today, like Hank, trust, my friends, that there's a hand on your shoulder, guiding you forward. If you're in grief this day because of loss, there's a hand on your shoulder. Just feel it, reminding you that in this pain, you're not alone. If you're facing a health challenge that is leaving you in maybe a paralyzing fear or that of a loved one, like Hank, trust that there's a hand on your shoulder, your loved one's shoulder, that will run the proverbial bases with you as you keep going forward. If you feel alone, remember that there's a hand on your shoulder that connects you to everything and everyone else in a web of creation. And you can never be alone with this presence. This eternal now is always with you. Whatever you are feeling this day, whether in the good times or in the bad times, these days in your lives, remember that like Hank, like the psalmist, like Rosa, like Harriet, like Maya, just remember that no matter what life throws at you, you will never walk it alone. That's the overarching promise of our tradition. That's the very best of our tradition. And it's the promise of this mystery, this essence that we name God. And as we've seen through the great lives we have immersed ourselves in this month, that's the overarching truth of the God experience as it is made manifest in our lives. It's gospel truth. And I hope you can live that truth always. My friends, a continued blessed Black History Month to you. I hope you've enjoyed this month and found great meaning in it. I wish you the best. I wish you peace. Like Hank found in his life. My friends, amen.
Many nights we've prayed with no proof anyone could hear. In our hearts a hopeful song we barely understood. Now we are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe, somehow you will. You will when you believe. In this time of fear, when prayer so often proved in vain, hope seemed like the summer birds too swiftly flown away. Yet now I'm standing here with heart so full I can't explain, seeking faith and speaking words I never thought I'd say. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe, somehow you will. You will when you believe. Ashira Ladonai ki gauga mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh nachita v'chastecha am zugalta nachita v'chastecha am zugalta Ashira 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 Ladonai ki gauga Ashira Ladonai ki gauga mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh nachita v'chastecha am zugalta nachita v'chastecha am zugalta Ashira Ashira Ashira. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe, somehow you will. Now you will. You will when you believe. You will when you believe.
That was beautiful. Michelle, thank you for your voice there. That was really powerful. Carolyn and Michael, thank you so much for all that you bring to our worship services. But Michelle, that was, wow, beautiful. I love that song. Friends, I wonder if you'll join with me in a little deeper time of prayer. You close your eyes and take a few centering breaths in this Lenten season, and you breathe in a sense of peace and love, and when you exhale, try to do this all day. Let go of anxiety and fear and division, negativity. Just breathe that out into the world. Holy One, ground of our being, creative essence of all that is. It is in rich and abiding gratitude that we gather together online, virtually this morning, to bask in the glow of your eternal now. May we be raptured with awe as we live out this day, O God, seen in the unfolding process of nature, your amazing handiwork and creative expression, and for the world you have placed us within, for the relationships that we have and that we hold dear, for the beauty and diversity of this world you have called us to be a part of, for the amazing Black lives that we have celebrated this month and the millions more that we could, for one another, for this gathered spiritual community. For all of this and more, we offer up our thanks and our praise this day. May your Spirit shine within and around us this day and always. Holy One, ground of our being, is not just in gratitude that we pray this day, but also in hope, the hope for a world turned upright, the hope of a world where people are not suffering from injustice and scarcity, the hope of a world where diversity and difference is respected and loved and blessed, where human and civil rights don't have to be voted on, protected because they're seen as natural. A world where love and compassion rule. A world for all people to live with the fullness that you intended upon creation, O God. For this world, in the spirit of hope, we pray this day. We also pray, Holy One, in hope for our minds and our bodies and our spirits and those of the ones that we love and hold dear through times of difficulty and illness and stress and grief. We have such suffering among us, O God, loved ones in the midst of the dying experience, people grieving the loss of loved ones that have gone ahead of us, people struggling with illness and aging, and folks feeling isolated and lonely, and people feeling effects of these pandemic times because they've lost jobs or security, or they have increased anxiety. People wrestling with depression and mental illnesses of many forms. We lift all who struggle in this community and among those that we know and love, O God, to the power of hope, that through a hope rooted in you, wholeness and peace and healing can blossom. And hope that this community of love and care can always be there to help heal the wounds, hold the suffering, the struggling, and be bearers of light, and always love. May this prayer, offered on behalf of this community and all the prayers that we all hold silently in the deepest recesses of our hearts, may they find their way into the mystery of your being, O God, the mystery of your love and your presence. And my friends, now let us join our voices in chorus and praying that ancient prayer that our brother Jesus taught us to pray long ago about an alternative kingdom on earth, the kingdom of fulfillment for all, daily bread and love and forgiveness, a beautiful world. We know it is the Lord's Prayer, right? I invite you to choose your most cherished image, whether it be Father, Creator, or Mother. Will you join me in the Lord's Prayer? Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, now and forever and always. Amen. Amen. Well, if someone ever told me I'd be doing a sermon on Hammer and Hank Aaron online in front of an empty church, if they would have told me that in seminary, I would have told them they were crazy. But hey, at Faith UCC, you never know what you're going to get week in and week out. My friends, I hope you found this month enjoyable. I hope, and meaningful, more enjoyable and meaningful. I hope you found today's sermon on a great man meaningful as well, in this whole service. If you found some real meaning in this and you'd like to make a contribution in the work that we do here, the investment in the work of love, as we spread it around the world, you can go to our website, www.faithucc.org, our new website. Again, it is under construction and in process, so there'll be more and more things coming to it, but go check it out. It's great. But you can go to that giving link up there, and there is Venco and PayPal, and you can just set up a recurring gift there. You can add a per capita there, which is the fee that we pay per person to the United Church of Christ. I think it's $15. It kind of cements our covenant with the overall Florida Conference, UCC, and supports the great work that they're doing as well. So you can leave a per capita there. And next week I'll talk about One Great Hour of Sharing. It's one of the 5 for 5 UCC ministry opportunities that helps people around the world in times of natural disaster. See the newsletter. I put a big article in there this week, but March is One Great Hour of Sharing month, so I'll say more about that next Sunday. I wish you a blessed and amazing Sunday wherever you are this day. May it be a day filled with peace and hope and love and joy, and may you live it in the fullest and have just a blessed Lenten week. Again, check out the newsletter for opportunities on engaging your contemplative spirit through different practices. I'll put one in each week, like I said in the beginning, and watch for all sorts of other announcements coming as well. We've got some good stuff on the horizon. We have great days ahead. Stay positive. Keep the faith, my friends. And most of all, have a blessed and wonderful week. If I don't see you this week on Zoom or some other place, I'll see you next Sunday right here at 10:30 from the studios at Faith UCC. Before we take our way out of here, though, we got to sing. We got to sing, "Let There Be Peace on Earth," and let it begin with us. Peace be with you, my friends.
Us.